Have you ever sat in a room, heart racing, wondering if you belong there? As a woman in tech, I have. And I'm almost sure I'm not alone. Today, in celebration of the Women's History Month, we'll be chatting about how I went from being that quiet intern to owning my space as a woman in tech. Despite battling imposter syndrome, navigating life as an international student, and transitioning from academia to the industry. Let's be real, sometimes tech, especially some areas or parts of tech, can sometimes feel like a boys' club. And it's not always easy as a woman to find your voice or feel like you belong. But here's the thing, do you belong there? Of course, yes. Are you capable of doing amazing things? Sure, you definitely belong there and you're capable of doing amazing things. I belong, and so do you. So in today's video, I'll be sharing some practical tips that has helped me and continue to help me, because we are all work in progress, that's helping me to find my voice and thrive as a woman in tech. And I hope at least one or two or some part of it would help you too. So grab a cup of coffee, get comfy, and let's chat about how to build confidence as a woman in tech. I just grabbed mine. Before we get right into the video, hi, my name is Tobi Lasisi, and I'm a full-time user experience researcher, and I currently work in quantum computing. If you're seeing my face here for the first time, so glad to have you here. And on this channel, I chat everything user experience research, from starting out to career advancements. And because I used to be a grad student, I sometimes chat about tips for grad school. So if any of these resonate with you, please click on that subscribe button to subscribe to my channel so we can have all the fun here together, and especially so you don't miss out on any of the updates that I share here. Also, it will be a huge support to me. Thank you for subscribing. So let's get right into the video. Let's rewind to when I started at my current job. I work in a core tech organization, and I started out there as an intern. When I started, I was super excited to be there in the first place, but I also felt completely out of place. To give a quick summary of my background, of course I was working in a bank before I moved to the United States. I was in the IT department. But of course, it was a bank. It's not a core tech organization. It wasn't so crazy. Then I moved here as an international student. That's a story for another day. I will talk about my experience there in another day. And after all my struggles in grad school, I started getting used to being in the academic environment. And then after school, of course, moving into my current job. This is me transitioning from academia now into the industry. So I moved there as an intern. I was super excited to be there, but I quickly felt out of place. So you've heard me say that I'm a full-time user experience researcher, but I currently work in the quantum computing application domain. And you must realize that I am not a core quantum person. No, I am not. Quantum is not my area of specialization. So this is me now surrounded by core quantum specialists, PhDs in physics, PhD in mathematics, core engineers, and it's so male dominated. And I constantly doubted myself. For most of the time, I'm wondering, what am I doing here? I remember sitting in meetings and wondering, do I even belong here? Am I supposed to be here? What if they find out I'm not exactly as smart as they think I am? Does that sound familiar? That's imposter syndrome speaking. And that's something so many of us struggle with. I do. And it's something that I've come to learn. At least for most of us, confidence is not something that you're born with. It's something that you build. And build is exactly what I did. And here's how I did that. So my first turnaround, I would say, started when I had to lead the user research for a very major product that we launched. That was the first major project I was leading by myself. And boy, was I terrified. Yes, I was. I kept thinking, what if I mess it up? What if they realize I'm not as good as they think I am? But then, after a while, something clicked. I thought to myself, if they didn't believe I could lead the project, they wouldn't have trusted it with me in the first place. So I'm here because I earned it and I'm ready to prove it. I realized that I had my own area of expertise. I am a user experience researcher, and if I say so myself, I'm a badass user experience researcher. And that lies my strength. That is where my strength is. I realized that if I'm going to do well here, I would have to trust my own skills and then lean on to other people around me. And that's when I learned my tip number 1, which is what I called own your expertise. So my tip number 1 for us is own your expertise. I started to remind myself of my own area of strength, of my accomplishment, and of the value that I brought to the table. So I realized that, of course, I was working with all these quantum experts who are very smart, very intelligent, but they clearly could not do user research by themselves. They were good at what they do, but I'm also very good at what I do. So I could lean on identifying my own area of strength and trust that. And I won't lie, that helped to build my confidence. So I held my head up high there, owned my expertise, did that user experience research like a pro that I am. And of course, I needed their help, needed their support for the quantum knowledge, but because of their trust in me too, they were able to provide the help that I needed for that. And if they didn't need me, I wouldn't be there. So I owned my space there. I belong there. And guess what? The project turned out great, in fact. And that's not because I was perfect, but because I learned to trust myself and the team that I worked with. And that applies to you too. Wherever you find yourself, you're there because you earned it. It's not a mistake. Best believe that. So remember, tip number 1, own your expertise. Trust your skills. Believe in yourself. Another thing that changed the game for me was finding my own tribe. For the longest time, I felt like I had to figure things out on my own. But then I started to meet other women in tech via networking, women who had or have had similar struggles like mine, and it was a breath of fresh air. I would say I was also kind of lucky because my first manager, she was genuinely interested in me. She was interested in my career and my growth. Ultimately, I had people who understood my struggles and who cheered me on. There were folks who constantly reminded me that I'm not alone and that my voice matters. So yes, my tip number 2 for you would be find your tribe. And when I say find your tribe, it could be a mentor, it could be a community, or just a group of friends who really get you. What I've learned is having people who believe in you really makes all the difference. Confidence grows when you are surrounded by people who believe in you. There were some few failures along the way. I remember one time when I was relatively new and I'd attended a leadership call with some management folks, and of course my manager was on the call, and I'd gone ahead to ask a question that now experience had taught me that you don't ask such questions on a call like that. It's the kind of question that you ask in a smaller meeting, maybe you, your manager, and your team members, maybe. I'd gone ahead and asked that question on that call, and the way people looked at me, I felt really bad. I was very embarrassed. Of course, the manager stepped up to handle the situation, but I felt really bad. I felt bad for some time, but instead of allowing that to crush me and maybe think I should never ask questions on such a call, or maybe never speak on such a call, I was able to learn from that experience and understand what kind of questions I should be asking on a call like that, and what kind of question I really should not be asking on a call like that. So my tip number 3 will be embrace failure as an opportunity for growth. Every mistake is a chance to learn and improve. And the more I embrace that mindset, the more confident I became. So tip number 3, embrace failure as an opportunity for growth. Now, one of the hardest and most important thing I've come to learn is how to advocate for myself. I cannot emphasize that enough. For some time, I'd stayed quiet, quite afraid to rock the boat. But then I realized that in corporate America, you have to advocate for yourself. Because if you don't speak for yourself, who will? So I started to ask for what I wanted. If I want a new opportunity, I'll set up time with my manager and go discuss it. If I need support on something, trust me, I'm setting up time to ask and discuss about it. When I thought I was ready for a promotion, I set up time to discuss with anyone that I thought could support me with that. My manager, my manager's manager, anyone I thought could be a great advocate for me. I set up time to discuss that. And here I was having those not so easy conversations. Yes, they can be quite awkward, but they had to be had. And guess what? People actually listened. They listened. They were happy to have those conversations. Of course, it could be a little awkward, especially when you're starting off, but it got a little better. And they listened to me. They were happy to have those conversations. I might not always get what I want, but I would have those conversations. So my tip number 4, advocate for yourself. It's not always easy, but it's so worth it. And finally, I've learned the importance of celebrating my wins. You know, for so long, I brushed off my accomplishments, thinking of them as not such a big deal. You know, it was so bad that I completed a PhD. I finished my PhD, and I really didn't allow myself to celebrate it because I'd spent the greater part of my time before that time wondering if I'm ever going to finish, if I'm capable of finishing, that even when I end up finishing, I didn't exactly allow myself celebrate that win. It's kind of weird, but that's just it. When you achieve something and instead of allowing yourself enjoy or celebrate that, you are looking ahead to, oh, what's the next thing I want to achieve? It's weird, but I feel like it's quite common to most of us. We achieve something and we're just on to the next one. What's the next thing I want to conquer? Instead of spending time and allowing ourselves enjoy and celebrate what we just achieved, we think of it as not such a big deal. But it really is. Small, big wins. But then something changed my perspective. So there was a time that I had to, of course, submit an application where I had to write about my accomplishments and attach supporting documents or evidences for that. And when I started that exercise, I felt I didn't have much to pull together. But by the time I was done and I looked back at what I had, I almost felt that was another person. That wasn't me. I'm like, was this really me? And my own surprise at my accomplishments was weird to me. Why wouldn't I know what I've done? It was weird, but in reality, I looked back and I could not recognize myself. I felt like, when did I achieve all of this? I almost couldn't believe it was really all about me in that folder. If I'm being honest, looking back at the folder that I put together, I was so proud of myself. So going forward after that, I had a folder where I keep my wins. Big, small, tiny, everything is going to that folder. And so on tough days, on days that I'm not sure of myself, I look back and at that folder to remind myself of how far I have come. I've learned that you need to allow yourself to acknowledge your accomplishments. So tip number 5, celebrate your wins. Confidence comes from recognizing your worth and giving yourself credit for how far you have come. Building confidence as a woman in tech isn't always easy, but trust me, it's so worth it. Remember, you're very capable, you're very talented, and you definitely belong in that space. So don't let anyone intimidate you. Hold your head up high. So let me stop here for now. That will be all for this video. If you found any of this useful, remember to give a thumbs up to the video. Also remember to subscribe to my channel. It honestly will be a huge support to me. If you have additional tips to share with us on building confidence as a woman in tech, please feel free to share in the comments. And happy International Women's History Month. Until next time, I'll see you in my next video. Bye.